Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be revisiting a band I checked out about 5 months ago, I think it was. They were a Finnish band called Verjnuarmu. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but we'll just go with it because that's what I did then. Now, I checked out a track of theirs, like I said, about 5 months ago called Laulavat Juset, which was very interesting. I actually really quite enjoyed it. They had a very interesting look and a very interesting sound, and I had a few suggestions given to me for other tracks to have a look at. So today we're going to be having a look at another track, and I'm going to probably pronounce this horribly as well. Kuvajaenen, I believe it is. I could be wrong, don't quote me. As I understand it, that means reflection. From what I remember, they sang in a very strange dialect, not the most common dialect in Finland. But I have a translation here, and I will say this as I normally say, I'm not sure how accurate the translation is going to be. Upon looking up the lyrics for this, I did find several translations. This one seemed to be the most in-depth, because it does give some explanations in parts to certain words that are not necessarily translated, because there maybe isn't an actual translation for that specific word. So like I said, I don't know how accurate the translation is, but I do have it here. As I said, we've checked them out before, so can't really tell you much more about the band. And like I said, last time I checked them out, I really quite enjoyed them. They were very interesting. So I'm looking forward to this, because I haven't actually looked at anything else of theirs since I did that last track. So yes, we'll just jump straight to it now. So this is Verjnuarmu, Kuvajaenen. Let's see what we end up with. Here we go. Well, there we go. That was Verjnuarmu and Kuvajaenen. Again, probably pronounced that horribly wrong. And again, a very, very good track. That one actually felt a lot heavier in a few ways than the first track that I checked out. I mean, it opened up with that sort of black metal-esque sort of scream that I can't remember if they had that in the last video I checked out. They might have had a little bit of it, but not to the extent that they have it in this track. But again, a very good track. In some ways, mostly in the aesthetics, I think they remind me a bit of the Vision Bleak. You know, they've got that sort of old sort of hammer horror thing going on, especially with like the sepia tone video and stuff like that. It's very similar to the way Vision Bleak represent themselves. Now the song itself, like I said, the song's called Reflection, or something close to that. And as the video shows, it seems to be talking about someone's death, and given the way that the video goes, and from what I've read in the lyrics, it seems to be like the spirit of this person who has died has woken up one day, looked out of the window and seen that there's a funeral going on, and they want to know who it is. They don't realise that they themselves are the one who has died. And at the end there you see the person like banging on the coffin and then pulling the lid aside and then seeing themselves inside. So it's like a spirit that hasn't quite comprehended the fact that they are dead yet. And like I said, the lyrics seem to reflect so as well. And they go, "In the morning light she rises. The bedroom is quiet without sound at all. She carefully creaks open the door to the living room and sneaks in like a thief. A black cloth is covering the table. Spirits can be smelled from the cups. Sweetbreads have been eaten," and I'm going to pronounce this horribly wrong because this is one of the few words that isn't translated. It says, "Sienapolis has been kicked to the corner." Now, there is an explanation here as to what that word means, or what it could possibly mean. It says here, I don't have reliable info about this word, but it could be referencing a sort of small chair that would have been reserved for guests during feasts. Now, like I said, I'm not entirely sure if that's accurate. That's what the annotation says here in the lyrics, and if anybody can provide me with a more accurate explanation as to what that is, then please let me know. So basically, those first couple of verses, you know, this person has woken up in the morning, this woman has woken up in the morning, and, you know, it says the bedroom is quiet with no sound at all, so, like, the whole world around them is seemingly silent. It says, carefully creaks open the door and sneaks in like a thief, so it's almost their movement from the bedroom to the living room is almost imperceptible, which sort of hints towards the fact that they are essentially a ghost. And then it goes like a black cloth is covering the table, sort of representative of funeral, mourning sort of thing. Spirits can be smelled from the cup, so people have been drinking to like celebrate the life of this person who has died. And it says like this little sort of chair type thing has been kicked into the corner, so it's like that chair isn't needed anymore because this person has passed, so it's being pushed to one side. Now, it carries on. People have been standing next to the deceased, heads have been bowed. People have been singing next to the deceased, sorrow has broken them. Inside the cabin, through a frosty window, she looks. There is familiar folk outside with pain on their faces. Mourners are ready, next to a sleigh, waiting for something that the men are carrying from the storehouse. So, you know, people have been standing next to the deceased, heads have been bowed, so, you know, generally just describing mourners. And it says, inside the cabin, through a frosty window, she looks. So she's sort of in this room, and she's looking outside and sees all these familiar people, and possibly family members and close friends, you know, and they're obviously sad and mourning, and she can read that on their faces, and she's sort of going, you know, what's going on, who's died. It says, mourners are ready next to a sleigh, waiting for something that the men are carrying from the storehouse. So they're bringing the body out from the storehouse to put on the sleigh to move to a graveyard or something similar. A bodyboard is lifted on their shoulders. A corpse is laid on the board. A cold body is laid into the coffin, sorrows weighing down on hearts and shoulders. She has been deceased, carried away with her feet up front. A pure white cloth has been tied to the sleigh. Now, again, there comes another word here, which, again, hasn't been translated, and like I said, is possibly because there isn't like an English translation for this specific word, but there is quite a extensive description, or not extensive, there's a description of to what it is. It's, right, I'm going to pronounce this word horribly wrong as well. It says, a painted carsiculauta has been nailed to the side of the storehouse. Now, I've got a description here. It says, a carsiculauta, whatever, was a piece of board where was written the date and the name of a person had died. So kind of like a plaque with the name and the date of someone's death. And it was usually pointed towards the place where the deceased had been buried. It was believed that the deceased could forget that they were dead and come back to their homes from the grave. The carsiculauta, or lauta, whatever it is, would remind them that they were not alive but actually dead. So it's like a sign that says, you know, to this specific spirit, like your name, your date of death, please remember you are dead, you know, please, you know, move on to afterlife or whatever it is, you know, you don't live here anymore, you are buried that way, sort of thing. So they've nailed that to the storehouse, which is, I'm guessing, where this person has died, because that's, you know, they're bringing the body from out of there. So it's just to remind this person that they are indeed dead. And as I said at the beginning, the person through whose eyes we are looking, you know, through whose the story is telling, is the spirit of this dead person. So at this precise moment, they don't realise that they are the one who is dead and who this funeral is for. Now, it says, from the cabin she rushes outside, makes a way through the crowd, bare feet plough through the snow, coldness is troubling inside the soul. She is beating on the wooden coffin with her fists, and wants to open the cover of the coffin. Mind breaks and heart pounds. She is staring at a reflection inside the coffin. So, you know, she sees all these mourners, she sees that this funeral is happening, she wants to know who it is, who has died, you know, she's deeply troubled by the fact that someone's died and she doesn't know who it is. So she rushes outside through this crowd of people, you know, and starts pounding on the coffin to find out who it is, and as she rips it open she sees herself in that coffin, and it says there, mind breaks and heart pounds, she is staring at a reflection inside the coffin. So, you know, she pushes the side of the coffin, she sees herself, and then all of a sudden it sort of snaps in her mind like, oh my god, it's actually me, I'm the dead person. So like her heart breaks, her mind sort of goes, wow, what the hell, you know. So I like the way it's been written, I like the way it's been told, I like the fact that there's a sort of story to it, and the fact that, you know, we've got those little things explained there, like that little placard explaining to the dead that they are actually dead, to remind them to sort of move on, sort of thing. I like that. I like it. It was a good song. I like the way it's performed. I like the way it sounded. Like I said, it was heavier than the first track that I looked at. And, yeah, I like that band. I really, really do need to check out some more of their stuff. Because like I said, after I did the first track, I'd never actually sort of went back and looked at anything else of theirs, so I'm definitely going to have to look at some more. But yes, good song. And I like I said, I like the story, and I suppose it might have certain folkloric ties in a way, you know, explaining beliefs and rituals and that the culture had. So yeah, I like that. Good band, good song. I like it. Very, very good. But I can't really think of much else to say on that for the time being, so I'll leave that as it is. And now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so. By all means, you can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel, which would be a great help to me. There is an option within Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue, should you so desire. There are a couple of limitations on that. Obviously, to be fairer to people who suggest tracks through regular means, such as comments and YouTube comments, Facebook messages, etc. So, just to be fair to them. If you do suggest a track through those means, like Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube comments, do know it might take me a while to get around to your suggestion, since I get suggested so many tracks every single day that, I can't keep up. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It just might take me a while to get around to your suggestion. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those involving people of the alternative culture. And it's something I believe in very strongly, something I'm very, very passionate about, because it's something I've had to deal with for a large portion of my life, and I've seen many people suffering at the hands of these people committing these crimes. Because every day all around the world, people from the alternative culture are getting violently attacked just purely because of the fact that they are part of the alternative culture, the fact that they listen to alternative music or wear alternative fashion. And, it's not a new thing, it's been going on for years. I've been dealing with it for, nearly 30 years. I've been having to deal with it. Members of my family have suffered at the hands of this, many of my friends have suffered at the hands of these crimes. But it's something that gets largely ignored. Nothing gets done to prevent it. And, we're not talking about just insults thrown from afar and being shoulder barged as they walk down the street. We're talking about real violent crimes. People getting severely and brutally attacked. Severely beaten, sometimes hospitalised, with broken limbs, and sometimes more life-threatening and invasive injuries. People are getting attacked with knives and getting stabbed just because of their taste in music, just because they wear alternative fashion. And it is a very real problem, but it gets widely ignored, and that needs to change. Because, every day we hear about things like sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia. We hear about these on a regular basis, on a daily basis, through all kinds of media. We hear everything from the most violent and heinous of these crimes, where someone is brutally murdered because of their religious belief, or because of their sexual identity, or because of the colour of their skin, down to the most pathetic of these crimes, where entitled Karen is calling the police because a family of colour are having a picnic in a public space. We hear every facet of these crimes on a daily basis, but we hear nothing of these people that are getting, brutally attacked just because of their taste in music, because of the way that they dress. The last time this was widely spoken about was about 12 to 13 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people and beaten brutally and so severely that they both ended up in a coma. Now, Rob Maltby, he did thankfully survive. He was in a coma for around about a week, maybe a bit longer, but he survived. Sophie Lancaster, on the other hand, was beaten so brutally that she was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries, and she died. This young woman was about 20 years old, was beaten to death. This girl was murdered just purely because of the way she dressed and the music that she listened to. And like I said, this happened 12 to 13 years ago, and that was the last time there was any sort of widespread coverage of the fact that this sort of thing happens. But I can guarantee you, in the years since that happened, hundreds, if not thousands of people have been attacked in a similar fashion. But we've never heard a thing about it because no one cares. It just gets widely ignored, and that needs to change. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening. They want to take steps to stop this sort of thing from happening. They don't want they don't want to see what happened to their daughter happen to anyone else. It's something that never should have happened in the first place. And they most certainly don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks. It's unacceptable that this sort of thing gets ignored. Something needs to be done, because it is a very real problem. And just by ignoring it, by not talking about it, we're essentially letting people get away with committing these crimes, and that needs to stop. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can pop over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their main goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it's a small donation through their website or something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands that you can get from their web store, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.